And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Always Pressing PGA DFS podcast. You can find us on Twitter at AlwaysPressDFS. I'm at BDintric, and my co-host, as always, to help preview this week's PGA Tour action on Twitter at DFS Golf Gods. Jesse, how we doing, man?
Dude, doing all right. Pretty burnt up from being in the garden on the golf course. It's been a crazy 2 weeks, man. I know it's been crazy for you. I got to say congratulations on the little one.
Thank you.
That's big. Yeah. That's big deal there.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. I'm busy in one way. You're busy in a more fun way at times. I envy you playing all that golf because I get text messages from the boys like every other day. Hey, you want to come play a skins game? Yeah. You want to do this? Yeah, I'm out for a little bit, guys. Not happening. So I'm envious of you there.
Yeah, so we got 97 holes in from Thursday to Saturday. We lacked 2 holes there because we got rained out on 118. But yeah, man, it was. I was so tired. I almost slept all day yesterday, and then finally got back out to the garden today. And holy shit, do plants grow quick?
Yep, for a guy like myself that works in farming, I was very impressed with your picture. Those are some healthy looking plants there, man. Healthy looking plants. Well done. So, yeah, you're gonna have quite the harvest going on there. It's beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
But people came here to listen to golf, so we'll go there. That just shows you Jesse and I can talk about anything. Yeah, well, maybe they didn't. Maybe they didn't. Good point. You did tease them with quite the picture, so maybe they wanted more gardening tips. Green thumb. You told us in our pre-return podcast that you've been doing a lot of gardening and stuff. So you've been doing a lot. So maybe people want some pointers. You never know. You never know. But before we get into the 3M Open, we had the Memorial take place this past weekend. And it was an absolute disaster in a fun way. It was just par was a good score. And we haven't seen that in a while. It's been Birdie Fest. We have a Birdie Fest this weekend. We saw some of the best golfers just get trunk slammed. Some of the scores on Sunday were insane, 10 overs, all kinds of stuff. We saw Bryson shoot a 10 on a hole to miss the cut. All kinds of cool stuff, but we'll hit on that. But let's first talk Jon Rahm. Takes the W, played phenomenal, start to finish. He's now the world number 1. What's your thoughts on Rombo, world number 1, W, the whole shebang?
Yeah, it's a pretty impressive weekend for him, obviously, to get to 9 under there. The golf course was completely baked out. I did watch some of it, a little bit of it on Sunday when I got home in between naps. But, yeah, I mean, he said that round, he shot 4 under on Saturday. Says the best round he's ever played, and that was a pretty good score. Really good score compared to the field. So yeah, I mean, the dude's been playing obviously lights out recently, and so it's just kind of a culmination there. I was really thinking if we had a pod last week, he would most definitely be my pick to win. So I didn't play much of him in DraftKings, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah, no, we definitely would have talked him up, of course. But I usually always mention him in fields like that because he always gets low owned, and he did yet again. He just gets overshadowed because, like you said, he's been playing great golf. People forget about him. Since they restarted, he's been kind of slow going here. But before the COVID hit, he was one of the most consistent golfers on the planet.
Right.
He was just ridiculously good. So, you get him in a field like this where his game shows up, and it just shows how talented he is. And we'll get to see him, I think, next weekend at the WGC, and then over in Harding Park here in a couple of weeks. That should be it. Harding Park, I'm mad I can't go. Obviously, no one can go. But, man, some of these big boys, if they're accurate off the tee, it's going to be a fun tournament.
Let me ask you something. What the fuck happened to Dustin Johnson? Do you have any idea? I played him on my Junkies team, so that's the reason I gave a shit. But
yeah, he went 80-80.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what happened to a lot of guys. The little bit I would watch – it reminded me so much of that U.S. Open a couple years ago where you could hit what looked like a great golf shot, and the second it hit the green, it'd be 20 feet off the green. It was ridiculous watching some of these shots. I think it was Thursday where the pin placement was on the par 316. Jack's in the booth saying, well, yeah, we're going to fix the green because it's not fair to these guys. They can hit the perfect shot, and it's still 10 yards off the green in the rough, the stick rough, or it goes in the bunker. You couldn't keep it on the green. These holes were just insane the way they were playing all week.
Yeah. I did, like I said, I was playing golf, so I didn't really watch much of it, so I was really out of the loop. I did catch the Bryson 10, though. I think it'd be fun to kind of go through that for those who don't know what happened. He was on the par 5 15th hole. He hit his first shot, his tee shot into the water, dropped, Hit his next shot out of bounds, dropped. His next shot out of bounds, dropped. Had 44 yards left. Hit it on the green, 30 feet from the hole, and then two-putted for a 10. Did you see the GIF of him, or the GIF, whatever, of him counting up his scores?
Yeah, it's perfect because
strokes.
It's like,
I'm sorry.
It's the typical easy answer. We've all been there before. Like you're sitting there pointing here to here to here, add 2 for the penalty, and you're just like, yeah, been there before. But
the weird part is he hit both those out of bounds shots. I mean, to the same spot, like almost. I mean, they're like 8 yards apart.
Well, this is where his I think ego got the best of him. He went full 10 cup. Let's put it that way. He went full 10 cup, thinking he could. That rough was so thick. To think you're going to hit a 3-wood out of that rough, like 200 and something yards, and keep it, you're just insane. That's where you're a much better golfer than I am. But what I'd be doing right out the gate, if I see that lie, I'm grabbing like a 5-iron and I'm punching it as far as I can down the fairway, and we're just going to take that where we go. That's just what's happening.
the issue there, I don't think there's really a really great layup for because there's a split fairway there on that hole,
with a creek through the middle.
Yeah, and so like it's probably a difficult layup, I would imagine. But I mean, just to blast 2 to the same spot, and the third one, I mean, wasn't that far away. I mean, like, so it's not like he was. Oh God! But he still shot 76 with a fucking 10, man.
Yeah, that's how good he was playing. Like you just said it right there. He missed the cut by just a couple strokes, I think. Jack in the booth was great. When he was in there, he was very honest about things because, like Faldo and those guys, they're trying to get these like all-time great golfers to say Bryson's like a gimmick. They're trying to get him to like say things, and Jack flat out like, because like, well, you said you're going to fix the course after this, Jack, and there's all the pictures of them ripping stuff out before it was even over because they're remodeling the whole thing. And Jack was giving him ideas, and Faldo's like, well, you're going to do something here because it shouldn't be, he shouldn't be able to cut this corner and land it up here and blah blah blah. And Jack's like, no, because it's the same thing Tiger said early in the week when he was asked. He said, hey, if you can hit it that far, the thing you guys are missing, he's hitting it accurate. He's hitting it straight. Like, that's the harder part. It's not the distance that's hard. He's hitting it straight. That's like, he's off. If he can do it, more power to him is what Jack said.
Yeah. So 100%.
A lot to be said about that because everyone's clowning on him because he's, just trying to bomb it. But you watch him with that shot tractor, it is pretty darn straight. And that's impressive. So. Yeah, I don't know. Be fun to see. Like, I want to see him at Harding Park and some of these other places. Just what he can do where there's penalties like that. Where if you aren't straight, you're in trouble, and that's what I want to see. Because when he won a couple of weeks ago, it's not like he didn't play well, but it's one of those courses you can miss a little bit and still be able to wedge stuff in and get birdies. So it'll be fun to see the whole cha-cha.
Yep.
But I got nothing really else to say besides it was fun to watch the carnage. It was also kind of scary to watch the carnage because I know a lot of people that had good DraftKings lineups, and like T Dunks, I think, went 10 over on Sunday. There was guys that just completely trunk slammed, and it wasn't even that they were playing that bad. It was just like I watched Rory on one of the par fives. He just missed it a little bit to the left. He finds one of those little creeks. He drops it in the rough next to it. He tried to wedge it up there, but the greens are so fast, he had to barely land it on the front. He hit the before it gets to the green, bounces back into the creek, so he's dropping again. It was just like when Rory is doing that, imagine what you or I are doing on that course.
Yeah. I think there was like somebody was quoted by saying like a scratch golfer, wouldn't break 90 or something, wouldn't have broke 90 on Saturday, and then 4 scratch golfers could have scrambled and maybe shot 80.
Mm-hmm. And I think the scramble part, I guarantee you they could shoot better than 80. I'll give them that much. Think so too. But I thought I'm a 16 handicap, and I can play bogey golf most places if I've seen the course at least once or twice. There is zero chance that I am anywhere close to. Like, I'm probably shooting like a 130 at that golf course. It's disgusting.
Yeah, I'd have done well to break 100 for sure.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But let's get in to the 3M Open, year 2 of the 3M Open. So you got 1 year of event history. What you got?
Yeah, Matthew Wolff won. This is where he buried he walked in that there's like a 30-40 foot eagle putt last year. I think on 17 or something along those lines after Bryson made an eagle in the same hole. Anyways, he wins by 1 shot, 21 under over Bryson and Colin Morikawa.
Nice, very nice. It was a fun one.
This was I remember this last year. Like Twitter just absolutely blew up.
Yeah, and I think if I am correct, that was on 18 that happened because 18 is a par 5. So it was the end of the deal. So it was wild how that all took place. And the way I know this is because I did the course preview, and there's not much to this place. I'm not going to go super deep on you here. It's TPC Twin Cities, par 71, little less than 7,500 yards. They keep moving the tee boxes around and try to lengthen this thing. It doesn't matter. There's a lot of rollout in these fairways, humongous fairways. Like one of the easier fairways to hit, and even if you don't, there's really no penalty to missing the fairway. So this is a place where bombers can just let loose. They can bombs away. If you have a good iron approach game, you're going to be just fine. The bent grass greens are huge. They average like 40 square feet or something. They're gigantic greens. So you need to have good two-putt abilities, because if you hit the green but you're a ways away, you don't want to be three-putting and messing things up here, because bogeys are going to be tremendous here. Bogey avoidance you need, because a birdie fest, a bogey is a massive swing in the wrong direction. So, drive and get at it there. There's 3 par 5s. They're all over 600 yards, but most of them you can get to in 2. It's like I said, is you can just bomb it. You got rollout and all that cool stuff, so you can take advantage of that. There's a lot of water on the course, but it really doesn't come into play unless you're just spraying it. If you're just having a mess of it, it's not going to be a big issue. So a real easy. I guess the other thing you can look at, the par 3s they're longer than normal par 3s, like 220, 240 yards and whatnot. So if you got good par 3 scoring in that regards, that could help. But really nothing crazy. Just bombs away, have a good approach game, and you don't even have to have a lucky putter. It's a relatively easy greens. It's more just get it close on these large greens, and you're gonna have a lot of birdie chances. So what's your stats you're looking at this week?
So yeah, like you just mentioned a lot of it, driving distance, birdie or better. It's going to be it's a birdie fest. So greens and regulation obviously matters. I did look on like Fantasy National, for example, strokes gained par 5. I weighted that. Opportunities gained, I weighted that on there. Proximity, a lot of those things that just are conducive to guys making birdie putts. And then it just becomes a putting contest.
And we love putting contests. Right. They're so easy to predict. So easy. But we'll get you lined up the best we can. So let's get into the DraftKings scoring. It's a rough field, to be very honest. And be very careful when you're clicking on names, because since the pricing's come out, about 8 or 9 more guys have withdrawn from the tournament already. And I don't think it's COVID related. I think guys are just so burned out from last week, like mentally just drained, because that's what that course can do to you. Yeah. So a lot of the kind of mediocre-ish good talent, they're not even playing this week. So you got a high-end class, and then a lot of interesting plays here. 10K and above. DJ at 11.5. Brooks at 11.2. Finau off of, he blew up on Sunday, 10.9. Fleetwood making his debut from the comeback at 10.5. And Casey at 10.1. What do you got here, Jesse?
Well, just start up top with Dustin Johnson. I mean, obviously he shoots 80 last week. He hit less than 50% of the greens. 50% exactly of the fairways, and couldn't putt worth a shit, couldn't scramble worth a shit. I mean, I would go, if you played him last week, I would go back to him this week. I think the ownership will be less, and obviously he's the highest priced, and so a lot of people don't even start there. I like DJ. I think Finau's fine. I think he'll be kind of the most popular guy up here, especially he finished 23rd here last year, coming off a solid week last week where his weekend was shitty. He shot 4 over on Sunday to fall back to 8th, but still a solid top 10 for him. I don't know. I'm not a huge Finau guy. Fleetwood, I would play, but I don't know. I mean, he hasn't played since the Arnold Palmer. I don't know what the hell's going on with him. Paul Casey never played here, coming off a missed cut last week where he shot 77 on Friday to miss the cut. But before that, made a bunch of cuts in a row, and I think he's pretty steady. I think he's fine. Brooks, like, it's just hard to say. Like, he finished 65th here last year. He's coming off a 62nd place finish at the Memorial. He missed the cut the work day. I don't know where his game's at, but I feel like he could do like what DJ did 3 weeks ago and win at any time, even with not that great a form coming in. So, DJ and Brooks for kind of the GPP plays. Paul Casey, more cash. Tommy Fleetwood, again, more GPP in there as well. I'll probably avoid Finau again. It's just, I don't know. It's a totally different deal this weekend. So, there's going to be a lot of recency bias on him. I mean, he was up there. He's always high owned anyways.
Yeah, there's going to be a ton of recency bias. And plus the finish here last year, one of the few guys in this range that played this tournament last year. A lot of bombers in this range. So you're going to get some interesting plays here. I don't hate the DJ play at all. We know if he can get a wedge in his hand, he's one of the better wedge players in golf. Brooks is interesting just because I love Brooks. Everyone should know that by now. He had some stretches where he was lights out last weekend, and then some stretches where it just went boom, goes dynamite. And there's reports that have come out that he had an MRI on his knee, and his knee's still messed up. So eventually he's going to have to have surgery. But when they asked him about it, he said the knee's not bothering him. He said his game's just a little off, but he's getting close. That was his answer when they asked him about the knee. And so it's tough to stay with Brooks. And we know how good he is. So like for GPPs, I don't hate it, especially if you're 20 max, 30 max, whatever. 50, there's no 30 max, 20 max, 150 max, whatever you're doing. I could see Brooks definitely getting some ownership there just because he has that ability. I'd rather go DJ if you're going up there. I agree Finau's going to be popular. I like Finau. If you want to play that card, he should bounce back just fine this week. This is a field he should do well, and it's almost like his own victory in the Puerto Rico Open. It's got a little vibe to that going here. But Casey's the other guy I like a lot. 10-1, consistent. He would have made he missed the cut on the number, I think, last week, and he had one horrible hole down the stretch on Friday. And it was one of those just the Memorial Muirfield Village got him. That was all it was. He actually didn't play that bad. His tee to green game was pretty solid. So I don't mind going back to Casey this week, coming off the missed cut. I love Fleetwood, like you said, but I'm just going to stay away. If he does it, he does it. It's just, I have no idea where he's at. So I'm focusing on Casey here, unless you want to go DJ or Brooks up top, but pretty much Casey for me in this range. When we look at the 9K range, we've got Bubba at 99, Wolf, the defending champ, at 97, Lucas Glover at 94, Henley at 92, Harris English at 9,000. Those names in this price range pretty much tells you what you need to know about this field. What do you got at 9K?
Yeah, there's a huge drop-off. I mean, besides Bubba, I guess you could put Bubba kind of in the same class as the 10K guys because he's won majors and stuff. But Bubba's been fishing today. I don't know if you saw his Twitter.
Really?
Yeah, he's been out there fishing, net fishing. Had the kids out there. They're already in Minnesota.
It worked for Zach Sucher.
I'm not. I probably won't play with Bubba. I do really like Lucas Glover this week at 9,400. Big fan of him. Finished seventh here last year, and is coming off 5 straight made cuts, 38th at the Memorial, 21st at the Rocket Mortgage, which is probably more of a comparison to this than the Memorial was. 20th at the Travelers, 21st at the Heritage. I mean, dude hitting a lot of greens, putters, okay, and he can get it out there far enough to where he can have some shorter irons or whatever into the greens. So I like. He rates out. I think he's the number 1 on my labs model. No, excuse me, he's not. He's top 4. The rest of them are sketchy ass dudes. So Lucas Glover, big fan. Harris English missed the cut here last year. So that's a little bit worrisome, but 2 straight top 20s, including the 13th place finish last week. Harris English and Lucas Glover are my 2 picks up here. I mean, Wolf I think is okay at 97, but I do feel like he will get. I mean. A pretty big bump in ownership at 9,700 there. So I don't know. I'd rather go Glover and English myself.
Yeah, I think Wolf will be popular. I think it's an okay play for him because when Wolf gets in trouble, it's because he's missing fairways. Well, he can do that here, and it showed last year. So if you want to go to Wolf, I don't hate it. I just don't want to play a chalky Wolf. I'd rather go to Glover. It's a shame. He was $7,100 last week. I was all over him in the Slack chat. He played great golf. I still like him a lot this week. $9,400 is tough to swallow. But in this field, I got no problem going to Glover at that price point. I think English is a really good play. He's picking and choosing when he played. Like you said, 13th last week at a very tough course, 17th 4 weeks ago at the RBC Heritage. So I don't hate that at all. And coming into this field, very accurate off the tee, very good iron approach game, and that's what you're looking for, the approach game. So I like that quite a bit with English there. And then Bubba's an interesting one at 9,900. He's a guy that, super volatile. We know that with Bubba.
Yeah.
But if it's a course where you can miss and be okay, I am intrigued by Bubba Watson. Let's put it that way. So I think at $9,900, I think he's a very interesting GPP play because I think Casey and some of those guys up top will get much more ownership, and then Wolf will be very popular. I think it leaves Bubba Watson super low owned, and he's got that upside. He could definitely, top 5 or win this tournament in a field like this. I think he's very, very intriguing at $9,900 at a low ownership there. Like if you want to take the low owned play in Bubba to play some cheaper chalks, you don't have to go into the 6K range. I think it's an interesting strategy to take this week. All right, 8K range. The ever popular, I've heard his name a million times already. Eric Van Rooyen, EVR is 8,800. Doc Redman's 87. Norlander's 86. Burns is 85. List 84. Patrick Rogers 82. Ryan Moore 81. Harman 8,000 and Max Homa 8,000. This is another interesting range. Jesse, who do you like here?
Yeah, I mean, I actually like this better than.
I like it better than 9K.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's obviously more golfers to choose from, which helps. But Doc Redman at 8,700. I don't think he's any kind of sleeper or anything along those lines. He's gotten ownership, especially like the Rocket Mortgage Classic. He was 17% owned. Of course, that went down last week to 5% in the Memorial, and he missed the cut. But he did miss the cut here last year, so maybe that suppresses it slightly. At least I hope so. Henrik Norlander. So, I mean, I played him last week. He rated out really well in my Labs model, and I pretty much just went off of that because I was so busy with doing other shit. And so I played him, but he finished sixth. Obviously had a great week. But I don't know, man. Like, so his name I've seen 1,000 times today already. And if he's going to be chalk at 8,600, I really don't want any part of him. And I don't see how he's not going to be because his form coming in is pretty good. Sixth place finish last week, 31st week before, 12th at the Rocket Mortgage. So the guy's playing well. He had 3 straight missed cuts, though, basically, Charles Schwab back to API and Honda Classic. So he's kind of, up and down, but in this field, 8,600, it's hard for me to just stomach that. Long story short on Norlander, play him if you want to, but I think he's going to be popular. Sam Burns is kind of a pivot for me. 7th place finish here last year and made the cut at the first Memorial Tournament, made the cut at the Rocket Mortgage, finished 30th there. So I think he's a pretty good pivot off of Norlander there, just in case, Norlander blows up or something. And then last but not least, Brian Harman, 8,000. He finished 7th place here last year. And just on some course history stats, obviously a 7th place finish, one tournament. He's going to rate out pretty well. But 3 straight missed cuts on tour, including the Memorial, Rocket Mortgage, and Travelers. So GPP only on Brian Harman, but he seemed to get around here okay last year. So I think he's worth a chance myself.
Yeah, this is the kind of course that fits Harman quite well because we talk iron players approach game, but that's Harman and more in a nutshell. But I don't have any of them circled just yet. I think EVR is interesting, going to be chalky as hell, but definitely fits courses like this well. Redmond, I'm with you there. Another one, and Norlander. Like all 3 of those guys, I'd pretty much take the lowest owned of the 3. I actually kind of think Norlander might be lower just because of EVR and Redmond. We'll see. But I do like the Sam Burns pivot. I have him down as a guy, 3 straight made cuts, like you said, 7th here last year. I got no problem going that direction. And then the only other guy I like in this range, and 79th here last year, back 3 straight missed cuts, missed 4 of his last 5 cuts. He's been a goddamn disaster. But Max Homa, he's been missing like on the number, and he won at Wells Fargo, so he's not like a piss poor golfer. He's just a little bit in a funk right now. And if at 8K to have a past PGA Tour winner, a guy with upside, a guy that can make birdies and bunches if he gets going, I think in a GPP, Max Homa can be quite interesting. So I got no problem going to a low-owned Max Homa at $8,000 if you're feeling frisky. 7,900 to 7,500. Who are you targeting there, Jesse?
Start up top there with Johnny Vegas at 7,900. If he gets it going on some of these places, as far as his putter goes, ball striking usually pretty good. If the putter gets going, stays hot, he can hang with anybody at any of these birdie fests. So I think he's okay at 7,900. He didn't play here last year, but I like him. Sepp Straka, he missed the cut here last year, but another guy who, when he gets the putter going, his ball striking is really good. He's made 3 straight cuts on tour, including the Memorial, the Workday, and the Rocket Mortgage. He's top 10 at the Rocket Mortgage, finished 8th, and he kind of gets streaky at times. Will Gordon at 7,700. Didn't play here last year, missed the cut at the Rocket Mortgage, where he was chalky as shit. Yep. Didn't we talk about him then? I mean, it feels like it's been 2 months ago.
It's been a little while. Definitely been a little while.
Is he the guy who's like in the same class as Hovland and Morikawa? But
yep, and he couldn't get in because they took all the
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So same guy missed the cut last time out at the Rocket Mortgage. He was roughly 17% owned. Burned a bunch of people. 7,700. I would go back to him this week. I mean, before that he was third, 20th, 21st. So on the PGA Tour, some of those starts were pre-pause, I guess. Ryan Armour, 7,600. Your boy finished 42nd here last year. Missed the cut at the workday, but 2 straight top 10s before the workday. Pretty incredible. I like him quite a bit. Scott Stalling, 7,600. It feels like in this field it's a bit of a misprice, but missed the cut here last year, so maybe that's what's factoring in more than anything else. Dude's made 5 straight cuts on tour. He did have a 6th place finish at the Travelers 3 weeks ago, I guess almost a month ago now. So, I mean, I think he's totally fine, and that's about it for me at above 75.
Yeah, a lot of GPP type plays here that I like. Straka, could be tilting as all heck, but a birdie machine. He's coming in great form, like you said, so I don't hate that. Johnny Vegas, I always like in tournaments like this, kind of a weaker field, a birdie fest, like you said. If he gets going, we've seen Johnny. He used to win the Canadian Open all the time. He's missed the cut 2 weeks ago at the workday, but then 3 straight made cuts, 24th and 17th at the Rocket Mortgage and the Travelers. So a lot to like with Vegas at 79. I think that's a really good price on him. If you want to get different, Siwoo Kim missed the cut here last year, but made 4 straight cuts, including 18th last weekend, 11th 4 weeks ago. So he's a guy we know that can go low if need be. I think he's I don't know if underpriced is the right word, but for this type of field, Siwoo's a little better than some of these guys ahead of him. I'm just going to go out on a limb there. I don't mind Gordon at 77. Just wondering what his ownership's going to be because he does have that big time upside at that price point. A guy that might get overlooked this week is Carlos Ortiz. Finished 5th here last year, coming off back-to-back made cuts there at Muirfield. Is a guy that can get it going as well. Armour I like quite a bit. And the last guy I'll mention is Troy Merritt. 7th here last year, missed cut last weekend, but then 22nd at the workday, 8th, 60th, 70th the previous 3 tournaments. He's a guy that can get going in small fields like this. So Merritt at 75, another one. But Armour I think is one of the better plays in this range. Probably going to be a little popular just because of the way he's playing coming into this, but really good price point for Ryan Armour at 7,600.
Well, no Rafa for you?
I think he's too cheap for this field, but he's in a funk right now. I don't know what his deal is. He's a phenomenal iron approach player. Like if any guy should rate out well, it should be Rafa. He's just in a massive funk, so I'm probably not going to play him, which means everyone else should. But yeah, I'm with you. That's my guy. It's just I'm not feeling him right now at all. Everything looks really off with him. Yeah. So it's tough. Who do you got 7K to 74?
Charlie Hoffman at 7,400. Missed the cut here last year on my Fantasy National model. He rates out pretty well. 7th 2 weeks ago at the workday, 41st at the Travelers. A couple of missed cuts before that, but it seems like maybe potentially figure something out. Richie Warinsky, 46th here last year. He has made 4 straight cuts on tour. So that's pretty good for old Rich. 35th at the workday for 21st Rocket Mortgage. Sam Ryder played well here last year, finished 34th. He hit the ball really well, and he's another one of those guys just on the course history stats that I look at. Again, 4 rounds. I realize that not a huge sample size, but 7th place finish at the workday open, 2 weeks ago. Ken Ventura or Christopher, excuse me, I want to say Ken Ventura. It's Christopher Ventura. He's number 1 in my Labs model somehow, some way. Not 100% sure. Maybe I should blow it up, burn it down. I don't know. 21st of the Rockets Mortgage Classic. He did not play the 3M last year. He's had 1 start. I think he's mostly been playing on the Corn Ferry. Do you have any Corn Ferry starts for him?
These might be Corn Ferries. I think 49th. I think he finished 4th at the Corn Ferry Challenge, maybe 49th, the King of the Bear. But he finished 5th, like I said, about 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Okay. So, he's he is what he is, but I 7,300. I think he's worth a shot. Chase Seifert at 7,000. He played very well a couple weeks ago at the Workday Open in top 5 basically, and got him into this field, I'm guessing. I'm not 100% sure. So I think the Memorial is like an invite only, right? Like you have to be invited by Jack.
Yep.
So anyways, he played really well at the Workday Open. He missed the cut at the Rocket Mortgage, but at $7,000 worth a shot there. I mean, there's plenty of GPP plays down here. Lots of names that, would maybe potentially normally be in the 6K range in a normal tournament, like Tom Hogue, for example, but he's up here in the $7,000 range. He finished 23rd here last year, 3 straight missed cuts, though. So, GPPs, man.
Yeah, you got Griot, you got Gooch, all these guys that can go low if they got it clicking, but a little bit risky, that's for sure. Yeah. You mentioned Richie Werwinski. That's a guy I'm on board with. I've been using him a lot lately. Just making cuts, making birdies. I don't mind him at all at $7,400. He's a guy I'll be on. Patty Perez, flat bill, $7,200. He's not lighting the world on fire. 53rd here last year, but made back-to-back cuts. 39th at the Workday, 45th at Rocket Mortgage. He's hanging around there, and you never know if he gets hot for 4 days. He gets like one bad day, kind of knocks him out of something real nice. So Perez at 72, and then you mentioned Seifert at 7,000. I like, and Scott Piercy, 15th here last year, 62nd at the Memorial. Has been kind of taking it easy since the restart, but talk about a guy that can hit it long off the tee, but kind of be sketchy. Runs hot in birdie fest tournaments like this. I don't mind Piercy at 7,000 in a GPP as an upside play as well. All right, 6K range. There's lots of GPP plays. There's a lot of ugly GPP plays. What are you liking in the 6K range?
Yeah, I mean, Matthew Neesmith, mentioned him just about every week he's in the field. He's decently consistent, especially for this field. I mean, at $6,900, he's coming off 3 straight miscuts, though, or whatever. I don't know what has gotten into him, obviously, but it's not good, and maybe that's why he's in the 6,000 range versus the 7,000 range where he would be, would have been a month ago or whatever. So yeah, I mean, he's a little sketch for that reason for the 3 straight miscuts, but surely he can figure something out there. Is it Seamus? It's got to be Seamus Power.
Seamus. Yep, yeah. Seamus Power.
12th at the Rocket Mortgage, which I think is at least his only start on tour. I don't know what else he's been doing, but at 6,500, I think he's all right. Cam Davis at 6,500 too, a guy who just can absolutely rip it, and if he gets the putter going, I feel like he can contend here. But he's missed 4 straight cuts on tour, so take that with a grain of salt. George McNeil did not play here last year, but 2 straight made cuts on tour. Rocket Mortgage and then Puerto Rico, which was back in February. So Rocket Mortgage, you finished 39th, and at next to no ownership, and that'll be the same again this week for him. If you're getting on down the list, Derek Ernst, just from a model perspective, pretty good. He played a Corn Ferry event at least like 2 weeks ago, finished 10th. I don't know if he's had any other Corn Ferry starts besides that one, but long story short on him at 6,300, for whatever reason, the Fantasy Labs model just adores him. So I don't know, man. It's sketchy as hell down here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's very, very sketchy. Chesson Hadley, $6,900. I think he's a sketchy as hell type play.
Well, I like that, though. Yeah, I like that.
He's a guy that can birdie in bunches. You can also find the water in bunches. So he's interesting at 6,900. Killer Keith Mitchell at 69, likes his bent grass. Finished 66th here last year, but 22nd at the Memorial last weekend. Another guy that birdie in bunches is an interesting GPP play at 6,900. Got Joseph Bramlett at 68, a guy that Corn Ferry been going low as heck, but back-to-back miscuts at the Workday and Rocket Mortgage. He's an interesting GPP play. Stu Cink at 66, playing some good golf right now. Not going to probably go low enough to win the darn thing, but 62nd last week and 17th at the Workday. A guy to consider at 6,600 if you want a guy to make the cut potentially. This one's for Kevin. I think he'll appreciate this. Johnson Wagner, 23rd here last year, 57th at the Rocket Mortgage, 66th at the RBC Heritage. Another guy making the cut. I like the Cam Davis call because he's a bombing machine. Just can't roll the rock right now. So that's an interesting one with him. Chris Stroud at 65 is actually playing okay. Missed a cut here last year, but made 3 out of 4 cuts, including a 28th and a 30th in so far in the return. He's a guy that can play. Hank Lebioda, Stefani at 63. There's definitely some GPP type plays, but I think like Mitchell and Hadley at 69 have a lot of legs to them in that scenario.
I got one more. Ryan Brim.
Yep. That's a good one.
Remember me talking about him at the Rocket Mortgage Classic?
Yep, $6,000, dirt cheap.
Yeah, yeah, he missed the cut, but he shot 71-71. So, and like the cut there was like 400 or 500, right?
Yeah, that's how it's going to be again this week. So be prepared.
Probably.
I like it when it's like 2 or 3 over. It gives me hope. Going into Friday. When my guy shoots 4 over, I know these guys shoot like 9 under the next day. Yeah. Not so much. Yeah.
Isn't that the truth? When he goes full Scotty Scheffler from a month ago.
I'm never going to forget that 7 over, 7 under.
Oh hell, that was at the Rocket Mortgage too, wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah, he was my OED pick.
Because I haven't been back on to tilt that with you.
Yeah, that was tilting. I had Ricky Fowler last week goes 9 under and then like 4 or 5 under the next day, or 9 over then 4 or 5 under. So that was fun. I just have all these guys that just can't. They just tease me on Fridays. It's freaking awesome. But I forgot to go over it. I was in such an exciting to get to picks. fansharesports.com, a bunch of awesome tools they got going there, articles and more. Use promo code AlwaysPress for 20% off the package of your choice. I wanted to go over a couple things. Guys coming in with good form over the last 5 events. Lucas Glover, Finau, Rowinski's third when it comes to DraftKings scoring. Redmond, Seamus Power rates like 5th. Sepp Straka, Scott Stallings, Henrik Norlander, and Troy Merritt hit the numbers on that one. When you're looking at the last 5 events on bent grass greens, Tony Finau, Lucas Glover, Johnson Wagner, Tommy Fleetwood, Bronson Burgoon, Redmond, Russell Henley, Danny Lee, CH3 stand out on the bent greens over the last 5 events on this field. And then I did par 71s, 7,400 yards or more, which is this golf course in theory. Matthew Wolf's only played 1 of the last 5. Obviously, he won that tournament. Max Homa's played 2 of the last 5. He's got second in DK scoring. Aaron Wise, Scott Piercy, Keith Mitchell like these fields. And Tony Finau's there again. Finau rates well on a lot of these things. So keep that in mind because DraftKings scoring with Finau, we used to talk about it all the time. He doesn't have to finish well. He just needs to make a lot of birdies. So that's very, very interesting stuff there from Mr. Finau. All right, quick recap here. Jesse, 10K and above, who's your one guy?
DJ.
I'll go Paul Casey, but don't hate it. 9K, who's your one?
Glover.
Yeah, Glover's mine as well. So you took Glover. I'll take Bubba Watson. I like the upside there with Bubba. 8K range, go 2.
Doc, Redmond, and then Sam Burns.
I'll go with Norlander and Homa. Those will be my 2. 7,500 to 79. Let's go 1.
I will say Will Gordon.
That's a good one. Give me Carlos Ortiz. I'll go Carlos Ortiz. 7,000 to 74. Let's go 1.
Ventura.
I'll go Berwinski. And then what do you want to do? 2 in the 6K?
Sure.
What do you got?
Sure. One guy I didn't mention earlier, Brandon Hagee. Did you talk about him?
I just mentioned him on Fanshare. He popped on one of those.
Yeah, I like him. So Brandon Hagee, and then Seamus Power.
Okay. In the 6K range, I'll go Keith Mitchell and Chesson Hadley. Those will be my 2 there. If you're starting a GPP lineup, what are the 3 guys you're starting with?
Ventura. I think Tommy Fleetwood. I'll just always have a spot in my heart for Tommy Fleetwood. And then like Vegas.
For me, I'm going to go Bubba, Homa, Ortiz. All boom or bust. Let's roll. If you're starting a cash lineup, what are 3 guys you're going? The cash is tougher this week.
It is very tough this week, but I would go like Glover, Stallings, I believe is probably a value down there, and Redmond.
I got Casey, English, and Armour. Those are my 3 right now, but it's tricky. Very, very tricky. Now the fun part, the part we've all been waiting for, who do you got winning this mess of a tournament?
Glover.
I like Glover. He's one of the names I had. He's at 35 to 1. That's not a bad value. I had English at 35 to 1. I think that's interesting too. Anybody else stand out to you?
What about Redmond? What kind of odds are on Redmond?
45.
Yeah, it's not bad either. I mean, not terrible.
Yeah, so going to be a heck of a week here. In the chat right now on YouTube, we have Michael Tucker from the Slack chat asking the guy's been doing the core cascade on the 20 max. It's been a pretty good system for these guys. It's a fun little way to max enter things. If you had to take one guy in any price range to run a cascade off of, who would you start with? So who's your top play, but you probably don't want to go super expensive, if that makes sense.
So like you talking about like maybe 8K range, 8 to 7K range, or
I'd say 8 or 9K. Who would be your number one guy between those two ranges?
Glover.
Yeah, I think that's fair. If I'm looking at it, yeah, Glover does stand out quite a bit. I'd probably go Glover with you in the 8 and 9K range combined. Glover's pretty darn strong there. If I had to take one in the 8K range, I'd say Sam Burns, because he's gonna be super low owned. I think he could be fun.
I think Sam Burns is decent too. Another guy I'd throw out there. I mean, I think Redmond will be popular, but I think he's definitely playable. And then, obviously the pivot off of, I think all those guys, like you mentioned, is Burns. So I like that.
Well, and the fun thing about the Cascade is they can take 4 chalky guys and you differentiate with the other 2. So they can get weird in that regard. So that's one way they've been building. I know Kevin, Mike, Dyer Work, and some others have been playing around with that lately. So pretty cool deal there in the Slack chat. But that wraps us up for the 3M Open, Jesse. It's a phenomenal tournament we have on our hands here. Any final closing thoughts here?
Yeah, it's going to be tilting. So just get ready for the tilt this week. And glad to be back, man. Sorry we missed last week, but it was for good reasons.
Yep. We had important things going on, so that was fun.
I believe that was the first tournament we just didn't do anything at all for, right? I mean, it had to be.
Yeah. For over 4 years now or something, that's it's not too bad. Pretty good ratio there.
It's pretty good.
So pretty good ratio. Yeah, not too bad. And next week we got the WGC in Tennessee, so that'll be a fun one. And we got
Memphis.
Memphis.
Yeah.
And so we got that coming up, and then we got majors coming up. We got the playoffs coming up. It's about to get serious in the PGA world. So enjoy this week of guys taking time off because it's about to get real.
I guess. Let's do it.
Yep. But check out Jesse on Twitter at DFS Golf Gods, podcast at Always Press DFS. I'm on Twitter at BDintric. Until next time, catch you guys later.